it is time for Winona's Pony Cart. Now, I will say that this was not one of my favorites in the series, but I am hoping that upon reread, I will enjoy it a little bit more than I did the first go round. So let's see what little gems are in this one. I really love this paint or this drawing of Betsy-Tacy, Tib, and Winona, and her little pug Toodles. I love Toodles. But this was just, to me, really reminiscent of, I believe it was Betsy-Tacy and Tib when they were building the log house in Tib's basement. And here they are going to make a leaf house out of the fall leaves that are in Winona's yard. They had a wonderful time making the leaf house. There were leaves of every kind and color, oak leaves and maple leaves and elm leaves, orange brown and red brown and pink and pure gold and red and yellow and green. Winona and Betsy, Tacy and Tib raked them into walls. They made a parlor and a back parlor and a dining room and a kitchen and a bedroom. Tib put lots of closets in the bedroom. People never have enough closets. That's what my father says, she declared. And this is just a cute little passage about Toodles, who I love and I think is the cutest cozy companion. Toodles heard his name and got to his feet, stretching and curling his tail. He always went to bed with Winona. He was supposed to sleep in his basket in a corner of the library. It was a comfortable boat-shaped basket with a red and brown blanket inside. But he went upstairs when Winona did, and curled up on the foot of her bed. When Mr. and Mrs. Root went to bed, they called him down and put him in his basket. It didn't do any good. As soon as the door of their room was closed, he sneaked back to Winona. He ran upstairs ahead of her now, as fast as his short legs could take him. At the top, he paused and barked for her to hurry. Winona followed glumly. She was very sad because she doesn't think she's going to get a pony for her birthday. So I finished reading Winona's Pony Cart, Kate, and I will say that I still kind of have a problem with the way Winona behaves in this story. But I think that I like it better this time around because it just seemed just cuter, I guess. But Winona is kind of a spoiled brat. I'm not going to lie. I do not like the way she behaves in order to get a pony from her parents, and how she cries and whines to get what she wants, and that her parents just kind of give in to her a lot of times. So that part was never my favorite before, and it's still not now. But I do love Toodles, and I think reading it in this order this time, after like around the same time as the one we just read where Betsy-Tacy and Tib were 8, and in this one Winona has her 8th birthday, I think that it just kind of made it seem more playful than perhaps it did the first time I read it, because when I first read about Winona, she was older in high school, and she just seemed like a spoiled rich kid. And in here she does too, but she just has a little bit more of like childlike fun about her in this. So I think I had a little bit more sympathy for her in this one and liked her a little bit more. So I want to know what you thought of this one. If you, like me, feel like Winona is just a spoiled little rich kid, or if you like her and find her, I don't know, charming or endearing. So, yeah, that's another one under our belt for a reread, and I am still enjoying it.
Hi, Rainy! Back for the next Betsy-Tacy vlog, and I have finished Winona's Pony Cart. I don't have it handy. And the walk to the living room is just such a long walk. So I will be holding it up. But Winona's Pony Cart has to definitely be like my least favorite installment in this series. But that being said, it's a favorite series. So it was still really fun to spend an afternoon, a bit of an afternoon reading this because it's only about 100 pages. It's not long to get through it all. And I found it interesting when I was looking in the trivia, like behind the scenes information in the back, that apparently there are two different girls that Winona is based on. And this is a different Winona than the one that we know from high school. But editors thought that she was incorporating too many characters. And so she was going to do a different character for the high school Winona, a different name. And they said, you know what, just make her the same as the girl that the pony cart story was about. So I found that an interesting tidbit. I will say that I thought the one thing that I struggle with this story is that Winona seems really spoiled, just really wanting a pony. Like, that just to me is such a, it's a thing, that's iconic that kids want, but for her to actually think that she should get a printing press and a new dress and a pony for her birthday seems a bit out of touch. But I really enjoyed several aspects about the birthday party. One, we're getting to see Betsy-Tacy and Tim through someone else's eyes. And also the fact that you get to see some Syrian children for the first time. So that comes into play in the next book. But it's neat to see that for the first time. There were many Syrian immigrants that lived just outside of Deep Valley. They weren't really included to the same extent that your Anglo-Saxon citizens of Deep Valley would be. So it's neat to see this kind of incorporation of them in this. Winona befriends several Syrian children, and I think that's a really special aspect to see. Also, I was very stressed out on behalf of Winona's mother. I forgot about the fact that she's inviting all of these kids to her party, additional kids in addition to the 15 kids that are invited, and she doesn't tell her mother. And I love this aspect of Syrian children coming, and they bring the baklava, which, I haven't had baklava in a long time, and it's amazing. So I thought that was a really sweet aspect to it. So yes, still really enjoyed it. But the best is yet to come, I say, with Betsy-Tacy. So looking forward to continuing on with Betsy and Tacy Go Over the Big Hill. The girls start to get really big in these books. They're definitely not little kids in the next books. They're big kids. Yeah. So looking forward to continuing on, and I hope you also enjoyed Winona's Pony Cart.
So, Rainy, here we are in Betsy and Tacy Go Over the Big Hill. And just her charming writing. I love this. Going on 10 seemed to be exactly the right age for having fun. But just the same, Betsy and Tacy and Tib wanted to be 10 years old. And then they have a song, Oh, Betsy's 10 tomorrow, and then all of us are 10. We will all grow up tomorrow. We will all be ladies then. Obviously, I don't want to sing this for the vlog, but I love it's to the tune of Mine Eyes Have Seen the Glory. So I just love that image of the three of them doing that together. And also in this third book, we have the premiere of the cat duet. And this, to me, is one of my most favorite things about this, particularly because it just shows you how much Tacy adores Betsy, that she's willing to get in front of all of these people and do the cat duet. Although if you're going to do a public performance, being in a costume where your face is covered up and all you have to sing is meow the entire duet, would probably maybe be less intimidating. So I think it's a bit out of character for Tacy, but I think she just feels so safe and comfortable with Betsy that she trusts her to do the cat duet together. And just a little nugget later on in the book, how it says, in that house lived a deaf and dumb family. That is, the father and mother were deaf and dumb. The baby cried as loudly as any other baby. Their name was Hunt. And I just wonder, was that based on a real family? And what was it like for them living in this community? Were there any other hearing impaired people in the community? That's just fascinating to me. And I hope it wasn't too isolating of an experience. I'm really curious about what it was like at that time for them being a part of that community. And then later on this page, I really just was drawn to the detail about the Granger's house. This was a neat light tan house with brown trimmings. No children lived there. The Granger daughters were grown up, but Betsy and Tacy knew the house well, for here they often borrowed Little Women. They had borrowed it almost to tatters. I hadn't thought of that as an aspect that would add community to something, more community, not having a public library. But I think that's really sweet that there was a neighbor that let them borrow it, and obviously let them borrow it often if they borrowed it almost to tatters. I'm a little surprised that maybe Tibbs' family wouldn't at least have a little bit of a library, because Tibbs' family seems pretty well off. And I'm curious, maybe they did have books, but I don't really hear it talked about. But I have to say, I think Betsy and Tacy Go Downtown is probably my favorite out of the childhood ones, because a big aspect of it is the library fund and Betsy writing. So I'm really excited for that in the next one. But I didn't remember this detail about this woman letting them borrow Little Women a lot. And another fun little detail that I hadn't noticed, it talks about Tacy's parents and Betsy's parents being in a high fly whist club. I think that's so cute that they're in a whist club together, the card game whist. I remembered hearing about whist in some Jane Austen books. They talk about it. So I love that they play whist together. I just think it's so sweet. And it just makes it seem even more of the small town charm. And another note of the small town charm is the ice cream social happening. They're raising money for the Ladies' Aid. Mama baked a cake for them. And it says that the yard is crowded with carriages, and the lawn, or the road before it was crowded with carriages, and the lawn was crowded with tables. Ladies in light summer dresses trailed over the grass. What a cool fundraiser. All you have to do is show up and eat some ice cream or cake. I mean, what's not to love about that? This quote, "The rose bush under the dining room window was covered with yellow roses, which gave out a spicy smell." And a really special aspect about this one is them getting to visit Little Syria. And I really, really love how they get to meet just this really different community from themselves. And it's such a pleasant experience. And they love learning about the Syrian culture. And their friendship with Naifi is just so precious. Also, I love how in my interview that I did with Jamil Huck and Jennifer K. Davis from the Betsy-Tacy Society, I learned that Naifi's name is said that way. I think I wasn't sure how to say it before, so that is how it's said, and I learned that. Another pretty passage, "They'll be plenty surprised when we come home," said Tacy as they climbed past the ridge where wild roses were in bloom. The air was freshly sweet with the smell of these blossoms. Flat, pink, and golden centered, they clambered everywhere. The grass was full of country cousins of the flowers down in Hill Street Gardens. There were wild geraniums and wild sweet peas and wild morning glories. Betsy, Tacy, and Tib picked bouquets and gave them to Mrs. Ekstrom when they offered her their petition. And this picture of Naifi being the queen, I just love it so much. She's in her beautiful Syrian garb. Oh, it's just such a great picture. And all of the flowers that they have, I just love it. And then I love this ending sentence or ending paragraph. "It didn't matter, though. Betsy and Tacy and Tib found plenty of things to do. They soon stopped being 10 years old, but whatever age they were seemed to be exactly the right age for having fun." So, Rainey, I have now finished my reread of Betsy and Tacy Go Over the Big Hill. I know you and I have both had kind of a gap between the prior two books that we read, and then we had a couple weeks where we weren't really reading Betsy-Tacy. And it's just always a good decision to read Betsy-Tacy. Whenever I read it, I'm never wishing I was reading something else. It's just the friendliest series, and so cool to see the girls growing and changing, and this new aspect of the town of Deep Valley, meeting the Syrian community and forming those friendships, and getting to see the girls' personalities come into their own, because Betsy, Tacy, and Tib feel very distinct from one another. And yes, so good as always. And I cannot wait to get to Betsy and Tacy Go Downtown. So I think I will save that for the beginning of next week. So Rainey, I hope that you enjoyed this.
Yeah, let me know what you thought about it, and I can't wait to dip into the next book.
Kate, I am so excited to finally get to Betsy and Tacy go over the big hill. I, from what I remember of this one, I agree with you that it is one of my favorite of the younger generation books for the Betsy-Tacy series. And I remember this being the one where we get a glimpse of the Syrian children and how Betsy and Tacy treat them. And I remember it just being like a lovely scene of inclusion with the Syrian children. And I'm really looking forward to that bit in this book. So let's go. Oh, and here's that scene when these boys are being mean to Naifi, the little Syrian girl that Betsy-Tacy and Tib befriended. And I just love this scene of them coming to her aid. You let her go. You let her be, she cried, pushing herself between Sam and Naifi. Sam pushed her back. There was a singing sound. The accordion-pleated dress ripped smartly in his hand. There was a scuffle then. Heedless of her dress, Tib pushed Naifi through a break in the circle. Tacy ran to help. Someone pulled her back, and Mrs. Mueller's cape fell to the ground. Betsy couldn't let Tacy and Tib be so much braver than she was. She fought her way forward, but she dropped the cardboard box. The 2 cat costumes, red ribbon and all, tumbled out. With a shout, Sam picked them up. Maybe he thought it would be fun to put on the cat costume. Maybe he was ashamed of himself and wanted an excuse to stop teasing Naifi. Certainly, some of the other boys seemed ashamed. Now, I'm going to admit that I am not camera ready today. So, instead of looking at my face, I'm going to let you look at this beautiful illustration at the end of Betsy and Tacy Go Over the Big Hill. And yeah, Kate, I agree with you that reading this series is never a bad idea. And whenever I'm reading it, I feel like too, it's the only thing I want to be reading. It's just so heartwarming. And I think especially when we see books like this that really show the inclusion that children don't really care that someone is different from them. I mean, obviously some of them did. The boys were mean to Naifi, but the girls just wanted to be friends and they loved learning about Naifi's culture, and they were able to show the other people in Deep Valley that the little Syria was a great place and the people were super nice, and they were just like them. And there's even a scene where right after that scene that I'd read about the girls sticking up for Naifi, where they go back home and Tib's dress is all ruined and she's afraid to tell her mom. And when one of the girls tells Tib's mother about it, her mother's like, well, all of our families are immigrants in America. That does not mean that newer immigrants should be picked on. And yeah, of course. I mean, we all come from somewhere, and unless you are a Native American, you are not from here originally. So yeah, I just love that Maud Hart Lovelace makes the Syrians such a integral part in this series. So yeah, I just love this book. This book I feel like is where you really get to see the depth of this series start coming out. Even though it is still a very sweet series, they, have been dealing with hard issues the whole time we've been reading it, really, through a child's eyes. And it's just really nice to see hard topics get introduced to children. And yeah, that's what I really love about it. So, yeah, all right, it's time to move on to our next book. Hopefully, we won't have as big of a gap as we did in the last one. I think we can start picking up the pace. Hopefully. All right, I'm glad you enjoyed this one, Kate. So did I. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.